friends. This is a fantastic way to start the day. Welcome to the Devil's Hopyard. I've been to this park before, and I thought I was picking a new hike, but as soon as I pulled into the trailhead, I recognized everything. So I have in fact been here before, but it's probably been 5 or 6 years. I'm not sure, but it's been a while, and it was winter. So it's fall now. We're 7 days into fall officially, and my plan is to do a hike and take some pictures, and for you to come along with me and to hopefully enjoy the process. Speaking of the process, my goal today is to try to be a little more considerate. I tend to rush. I am not a patient person. This may come as a surprise to some of you, but patience is a virtue I do not possess. So my goal today is to try and slow down and think about my compositions and explore my possibilities. I usually see something that grabs my attention, and that's when I zone in on, and I take that photo, and then I'm like, I've accomplished my task, I got my photo, it's time to move on. What I want to try to do today is slow down and go in and get that initial photo. That's what pulled me in, but then maybe explore my options. Can I go up, down, left, right? See what other compositions might be there, and to really kind of try and think it through and maybe be a little more purposeful in my photography rather than just a hike where I take photos. I want to try to create some good images today. That's a very high bar I've just set for myself, and if I don't get anything, that's fine, but if I do get something, even better. And hopefully, by slowing down and thinking about it, I am able to create even better images today. And I'm starting with this one right here. This beautiful waterfall. I'm about 20 yards into this hike, and it's great. Cascading down here over, got some small falls up the top. This main fall right here in front of me. Nice little dark water pool. Lots of little rocks dotted all over. Now I'm doing a little bit of an exposure blend because I really want to smooth out this water. I got this great little line of reflected light in the water, which is contrasting nicely with the dark water on either side of it. But that exposure is about 25 seconds to really smooth this out. And I feel like it's too long for these waterfalls. I want just a little bit of texture in there. So I'm shooting about 1/4 of a second on the waterfalls, shooting about 20 to 25 seconds for the water in front of me. I'm gonna blend those two together so I get that nice smooth water here and that beautiful texture waterfall in the background. Show you here what we're looking at on the back of this one. Here you can see it. Here I've got that great beautiful waterfall right there. And then this great, I'm gonna pull this polarizer off. Let's reset this exposure here, shall we? There we go. Here you can see this beautiful waterfall in the background. Great big pool, all these little dotted rocks all over it. Now my still frame is a little wider than this, so you're seeing those waterfalls with little tiny cascades at the top. They're not real prominent in the final image, but they're there and I like them, so I want to keep them. So shooting a little taller than this, coming down a little bit more into the pool in the bottom, blending these two together, like I said, to create this image. The photography settings for this guy, like I said, ISO, we're shooting at an ISO 200, f16, 25 seconds for the water, ISO 100, 1/4 of a second, f16 for those waterfalls. Put those two together and have this beautiful morning scene at Witch Hazel Loop here in the Devil's Hopyard. I've come across my next shot and I haven't made it very far. You may be able to hear the waterfall still in the background. Come maybe another 20 yards, so I've made it 40 yards on this 4-mile loop so far. So really a good day so far. I found what I think are some asters. I'm trying to be better with my plant identification, and I cheated and I used an app. But these beautiful tiny little white flowers, I've got this great cluster of 3 just nestled at the bottom of this tree here, and I've got these 2 great kind of contrasty knobs of tree root sticking out with the great green leaves of the aster plant, and then of course all of the fallen brown decaying autumn leaves falling around us. We are officially 7 days into autumn and the leaves are just starting to turn, so I'm going to be excited for some leaf on the ground photography, one of my favorite things. But here's some asters on the ground. I'll show you here what we are looking at through this camera. Here you can see it again. Got these 3 little clumps of aster flowers right here, and this beautiful green growth over here, all the little great brown decaying leaves around it, and then down here, just a little extra interest, is this tree root with these 2 exposed little knobs just sticking up, adding a little contrast, a little something else to see. I walked around this scene and looked at it. I'm going to show you. Oh, I just found a big old, I think it's a banana slug, but he's really, really brown. But big old slug right in front of me. Sorry, distracted. I walked around and checked out various compositions with this thing, in close, back away, and I'm gonna share with you this little, this is, I think they call this an artist view, a view catcher, they call this thing. It's used by painters a lot. Simple little device. Piece of plastic, slighty bit inside, and I just kind of use that to frame up things with my eye. I can walk up to a thing and look at it and see if the composition looks good, and I can walk around and come up with ideas. And this is going to help me slow down and consider my compositions as I walk around today. That's kind of how I did this. It allows me to not have to get a camera out of the bag, lug things, you know, put it down the camera, get the camera out, look at the thing, change the lens. But I can, with this, decide, one, is it even worth taking an image? And then far away, in telephoto, get in close, wide angle, that kind of a thing. And you can sort of determine some framing by sliding this thing up and down. It's just a helpful, simple little tool that I can just keep in my back pocket. And as I see things, I can decide whether or not it makes a good image. And I decided that this one did. So stopped here and we took it, shooting this at an ISO 200 f/22 1.3 seconds. That's just to kind of try and get everything in focus all at once. Got the camera set up at the same kind of angle as the ground here in front of me to help with that focus. Really straightforward shot, really pretty kind of fall woodland scene, and I love it. Fantastic day so far, and it's only just begun. So great. It's getting warm today. Starting to get a little sweaty, but I'm on a new section of the trail. I've never been to this part before, and it's coming uphill, so a little winded, but I found this beautiful little woodland scene. I've got this fallen decaying log, and it is covered in, it has a few autumn leaves strewn on it, but what caught my eye were all of these broken up, what I think are walnut shells, or an acorn shell over here. All of that little detritus here on this log is what caught my attention, with these 2 leaves that are just kind of sitting and pointing yet towards each other. So I got out my little artist square thing and framed up a little picture, and I'll show you here what I'm looking at and kind of what drew me in on this guy. Here you can see it. I'm going to widen out here in the video a bit. What caught me, obviously, were all of these little shells, these little walnut shells that are just laying in this cavity of this log. And then I've got these leaves right here, little tiny guy, big guy, little medium-sized guy, kind of nice golden color. This one kind of pointing in. And then I loved this shell right here, that little white one right there, just kind of a little pop contrast, a little something different. And it just kind of, it was just this nice, perfect little woodland scene, and that's kind of what drew me into this. So that's why I've stopped here to take this image. I am shooting this at an ISO 100 f/16 1 second exposure. Canopy over us here. Clouds are kind of rolling in again, which is great actually. So my exposures are a little on the slow side. Being careful to frame in this one white shell on my right side of my frame, and I got these 3 other little segments of shell on the top left of my frame. And then of course the leaves are the star, nice little bit of green lichen across the top, really dark wet log across the bottom, nice little bit of contrast in there. Just a simple woodland scene, and I love it. So happy for it. Here is a lovely woodland shot. I've got this gorgeous mushroom that is in really great shape. Nothing's chewed on it yet, at least not much, maybe some tiny little nibbles, but good enough for me. Beautiful pink color on this mushroom, surrounded by this really lush green lichen all around it. And then I've got this beautiful golden leaf that has fallen and is leaning against this log from which this mushroom is growing. That's my top-down shot. I have another shot down low shooting across this mushroom. What I have not decided yet entirely is it better from this angle in the front or this angle from the left? I'm going to decide that in a minute after I get this shot that I know I like. Shooting with my 70 to 200 millimeter lens here at 200 millimeter lens, at 200 millimeters on the lens. I'll show you what I'm looking at through this camera here. Here you can kind of see it again, squashing my top and my bottom because of the video aspect ratios, but beautiful pink mushroom right there. All this lush green lichen going on between it. A little bit of a brown fallen leaf there, which is just a nice little contrast in color. This beautiful golden yellow leaf down in the corner. So I've got this nice diagonal line going on between these two, my star interest, with this beautiful carpet of green running right through the middle. It's really nice, really, really pretty. I'm shooting this at a 4:5 aspect ratio because I like that aspect ratio, and it gets rid of some of the distracting things on the left and the right, and it's really just mushroom, leaf, beautiful green carpet right through there. Shooting at an ISO 100, f/16, 1.3 seconds. I am doing a focus stack on this one, telephoto lens, and there is some distance between this mushroom sitting up on the log and the leaf sitting down on the woodland floor. So one focus on that mushroom, one focus on that leaf. That seems to be getting everything in sharp focus for me. I'll blend those two together, and then I end up with this great mushroom woodland scene. Now, I'm gonna get down on the ground and see if I like this or this, and pick one of those. Decided on the angle of my little mushroom, my down low angle, and I couldn't be happier. This is great. Shooting down low, I still on my 70 to 200 at 200 millimeters, and I've kind of come around between the two angles I was originally debating between. Actually ended up really liking the background of this one. There's not a lot in the picture of the background. I'm throwing it out of focus. I'm shooting this at an f9 to get a shallow depth of field foreground background, to throw one to just remove the distraction of all the pattern of the brown leaves in the background, and two to just make that mushroom really stand out. It's kind of in a slice of in focus on this shot. Shooting at an ISO 100, f9, half a second. Have my diffuser set up, leaning against a branch over there, just to kind of take some of those specular highlights I'm getting as the sunlight comes through these leaves overhead. That's evening out my exposure, kind of giving this a little bit of a more soft, ethereal feel. Focused on my mushroom. 2-second timer, and that's my shot. I'll show you here what we're looking at through the camera. Here it is, you can see it. This beautiful soft moss and lichen growing in the foreground. All these leaves in the background that are just thrown out of focus with that f9. And then just sharp focus on my little mushroom in there. And that is the image. Really simple. Such this kind of fairy tale woodland scene, and I love it. So happy I found it. right, friends. I don't think you could ask for anything more than this. This is a small fall, a little trickle of a fall. It's not much going on, but it's really, really pretty. Lots of little tiny ribbons of water coming down over this really dark moss-covered rocks into this nice little still pond in front of me. That's kind of the shot. Really, really simple setup on it. I've played around with zooming in and zooming out and going tight on little sections and then trying to get the whole thing. And it's really kind of better to get in tight, little 4x5, kind of cutting off the top of this waterfall a little bit just to kind of highlight these silver ribbons of water coming down. Got this pond a little bit in the foreground, doing about a 5-second exposure, smoothing everything out, and that's the shot. Really, really simple. Got a polarizer on there to help reduce the glare on the rock and really jump up that contrast between that water, those silver rivulets of water, and that dark black rock. And it's also helping take a little bit of the glare off the water, not too much, helping me see a little underneath the surface of the water, which I actually really like. See these little different pebbles and colors popping up underneath. That is my image. Show you here what we're looking at on the back of the camera, so you'll have a better idea what I'm rambling about. Here it is, just these beautiful little streams of silver water coming down into this great little shimmery pond in my foreground. Shooting this at 5 seconds gives me a nice smooth water, nice long smooth fall of the waterfall. And I'm going a little bit longer on this one because these little falls are so thin that the longer I can leave that exposure, the more they kind of build up in the exposure and look a little more dramatic than they are in real life. Really nice shot. I really do like it. I'm really happy with it. Shooting this at ISO 100 f/22, 5 seconds, like I said. Really great image. Super happy. Friends, I think that is a pretty fantastic way to end the day. Very near the trailhead, which is very near the end of the day. So I think I'm going to take this opportunity to thank you for coming along with me. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you would like to see more. And tell your friends, because the more the merrier. I would really like to see the channel grow, so if we can get some more people on over here to the party, it would be greatly appreciated. If you'd like to see some more of my work, please head on over to toddhphoto.com. Over there you can see the images I've been taking throughout the years. And while you're there, I'd really appreciate it if you signed up for my mailing list. There I just mail out early access to my blog, and as a member of that mailing list, you get access to download the featured image free for 1 week before the blog is published on my website. After that, those images are available for download for $1. And if you'd like to support me in other ways, I do have a fine art print sale store up where I have prints for sale. Just a small selection of some of my personal favorites. If that's something you might be interested in, get a little art for yourself to hang up on the walls. And there's also a donation page there at the bottom of my website. Any amount is greatly appreciated, big or small, one time or continuing. All of it helps me keep gas in the tank, protein bars in the backpack, and hiking shoes on the feet. But really fantastic day today. I did set out to kind of try and be a little slower, more calculated and thoughtful in my compositions. And I think I was maybe 40% successful in that endeavor, but that's better than 0. And I got to hang out and do things like this all day long. And I'm really happy that you did come along with me. So I'd like to take the opportunity to say thank you. And from the Devil's Hopyard here in Someplace, Connecticut, so long. And we'll see you next time. There's so much to see around here. Ooh, look at this thing over here.